Hi guys, this is Ruthie from the Quintessential Marketing blog, and I just had a quick thought that I wanted to share with you. I was just talking to a small business owner who runs a retail location, and they just recently built an online site, and they want to start doing online marketing for it. And I think what's really interesting about the conversation I just had was there just seemed to be a lot of defeat in his voice, and kind of, he knows he should have an online presence and they want to start selling online, but he almost feels like he has no idea where to begin and no idea what it entails. The only thought that comes to mind for him is it's going to cost me a lot and it's going to take a lot of time. And I think what just feels kind of sad to me is that people don't know where to begin. They don't know what the opportunities are, and instead of thinking of what's it going to take for them to do this, they should be thinking about what the upside is. What's the reward? I mean, e-commerce and online stores just have such a huge opportunity, and I think especially he's in a unique place given that he has a retail store. So I wanted to walk through a few scenarios that I think could be a great place for them to start, and just hopefully give hope to you out there. If you are a small business, if you do have already an online store and you're trying to build it, don't be afraid to sit back and think creatively and just try to pull ideas. There's no such thing as traditional, online marketing or traditional e-commerce ideas. Stop thinking that way. Throw the book out the window and do what feels right to you, and start thinking really creatively and push the envelope for yourself. It doesn't have to cost a lot, and it can be really easy. In fact, I think sometimes the stuff that costs the least can have the most impact because it just is real and it feels authentic to your brand. So the first thing I want to say is, let's stop thinking about it just being an online store or a place for people to buy your products online. You need to start thinking of it as an online brand, your presence online. This isn't just a place for people to hit checkout and an alternative to walking into your store. You need to make sure you have a presence online and that you can represent yourself, because consumers today aren't dumb. If they hear a name or they hear about your site, the first thing they're going to do is they're just going to poke around. And if you don't come off as a legitimate business to them, a business with a presence, with some social media presence, looking and feeling like a great site, then the little scam warnings in their head go off, or worse than that, even they discount you as just these guys don't have it. I wasn't struck by this feeling when I got online of like, oh, this is a brand, this is a store I want to associate myself with. And we need to start thinking like that. So online brand versus just an online store. Think about your brand, think about your presence online, and really give a lot of thought to that. So the second thing I want to talk about, and this really applies to companies that have an online store but also have an in-store, like a retail setup, and there's so much you can do with that. If you're already hiring stylists to set up the store nicely, bam, there's your content. Get in there and take photos, either yourself or hire a photographer for a few hours a day off of Craigslist to come in and take beautiful lifestyle shots, because we know images online are everything. You need to make this appealing. I think I wrote in a blog post recently that when you're in real life, you've got five senses that you can use, and your senses tell you about what you're experiencing, right? Well, with online, you really only have one. You only see. And so we need to make sure that we can take that one sense of seeing and turn it into the five senses we would get in an offline experience. So beautiful images are a must. Lifestyle shots are a must. And that kind of takes me to my second point is the images on his site were tiny. And we were talking about a high-end product here, a product with lots of details, and they stuffed this little shot into this little thumbnail image, and you can barely see anything. You have to rethink your site. You have to be willing to look and say, what does this site say about my brand? What does this site say about my product? And you have to prioritize branding and imaging and design as a number one concern when you're starting out online, and after you're starting out as well, but definitely when you're starting out. If you're building a site, we need to be thinking through these lenses. The other thing is, I asked him about content on the site, like, do you have a blog? Do you have any, intention or desire to add some content to the site? And first thing I got was this huge sigh, and then like, oh, I wish we had a blog, but we have no time. And I get that. It feels like it's an easy thing to say, I don't have time for. But I think we've all understood as consumers that having a blog is just one more way that we can get our brand across to the people visiting our site. One more way we can lend a voice to it. One more way we can increase the number of senses that you can get from an online experience. And again, I started thinking, well, creatively, we have a store, we have sales associates. Why don't you get your sales associates to each write a blog post once a week, or get them to Instagram photos of the store, you know, the behind the scenes look, that kind of stuff. There are so many ways that we can think of outside the box when it comes to this that doesn't have to cost them more money. Every retail store, you know, experiences the empty store syndrome, right? Whether it's 11 a.m. and no one's in the store. Great, let's put your sales associates to work. Let's start building a presence online and engaging with customers who might be out there. Maybe you take 1 hour per sales associate a day and make it a live customer service situation where they're chatting or live tweeting your questions about the styles of products they sell, or about the quality, or about how to wash them, whatever it is. Let's really tap into that. But most of all, I just want to give a little, you know, burst of motivation to you and tell you it's not too expensive. It doesn't have to be time consuming. It doesn't have to, you know, be any of these fears that you have, but the upside is huge. The potential for what you can do and create online, especially, you know, in this case, they had a retail store. But what happens if you don't have a retail store? Then you can put all your resources into online. And in fact, you have to, because that's the only thing you have going for you. And why not build it up as much as you can strong? And again, I really believe that you don't need to have, you know, a degree in marketing or come from a fancy company or pay someone a lot of money. I think the marketing that comes intuitively from your heart when you think like a customer, and you, because you intimately know your business, that's what strikes a chord with your customers, and they can tell that sincerity and that integrity, or the excitement you have for your products, or your passion. Let it all come through, because today's consumers are educated ones. We know how the web works. We know how to Google things and find out if what we're seeing is really true. We know when to trust something. We know when not to. So these are all just important things to think about. But most of all, trust yourself as the owner of this brand online, and get out there and start thinking, what can you do? Because the beauty of online is you can do anything. You can, you know, create and set up a brand presence with no barriers, and really consider that and think about that. And the information's out there for you, and I hope that my blog can be helpful to you in that way as well. But there's hundreds of other resources as well. So I just encourage you to get out there and really build your presence online and have fun doing it.